Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday night weekly candle close after a very volatile 7 days. Bitcoin retraced as low as 112k over the last few days. A lot of panic, a lot of fear in the markets, and a lot of people questioning whether we go much higher, when we go higher. Is it going to be Q3? Is it going to be Q4? Is it going to be 2026? And what's going to finally be the catalyst for the altcoin market, because so far this bull run has been very, very concentrated. Tonight we're going to cover it all. We've got some news stories, we've got some charts, and yeah, hopefully we're going to settle some of those nerves down, because I know there's a lot of people freaking out across the markets. I've had a lot of DMs asking if this is a good time to be selling. For me, it's not. This is actually a terrible time to be selling, in my opinion. But we'll dive into everything. We'll look at the Bitcoin chart, what we like to see, what we don't like to see, and set us up for a big week in the markets. Evening, everyone. See some people in. Make sure you drop a like on the stream. We'll have a lot more streams coming up. But let's start with the Bitcoin price action. So if we look on the weekly, to be fair, this bull market has been pretty orderly on the zoomed out perspective. Whenever you look at the weekly time frame, Bitcoin has been kind of just grinding slowly higher. If you look at the monthly, you can see that it's pretty much straight up to the right. A few deviations in there. Weekly, pretty not like nothing really too dramatic. When you get down into the lower time frames, that's where you get a lot of the volatility. But the volatility has definitely calmed down since the ETFs were approved. Now, if we look at Bitcoin price action this week, we got the check back to 112k yesterday. We touched it, and today we've had some follow through, a nice bounce. 112k is that previous high from May. We did say we thought we could get there at some point in the future, but there is also a lot of liquidity down into this kind of 109 to 110 area. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get some scam wicks into there over the next 24, 48 hours. But so far we're holding 112k as support. It looks pretty bullish on the chart, and we're going to also look at a few other things that have happened recently. So if we look in the weekly chart, we can see that these price checkbacks are pretty standard. You see here we put in a high in January 2024 at $48,988. Obviously this was just a local top at that point, not a new all-time high. But you can see we ground up, traded around, and eventually flushed back to that all-time high back in August, before we got that explosive move higher. I do think we are doing something similar. You can see again back in April we got that check back. I think we missed it by about $400. So to me, that's all this was. This was a correction, a healthy flush of leverage back to a key area. And yeah, we may go down to that 110, 109k area this week, but to me, I think it's less and less likely, and the bullish reaction we saw today probably gives us a bit more confidence moving into next week. On top of that, this entire move was market driven, it was exchange driven, it was a flush of open interest, it was a flush of leverage, and it was really to panic people that had bought somewhere in this candle here and above. So basically, if you bought Bitcoin anytime before the 10th of July, you're still in profit. Anytime after that, and that's where the real flush came from. That's short-term holders, that's FOMO buyers, that's people that don't really understand what they're doing and they're just FOMO buying, and then they sell in this crash. There wasn't a massive news-driven event. We had a weak jobs number in the States, but anyone with a brain knew that these job numbers were fake and were going to be revised lower, because they've been revised lower for 2 years. We had Powell come out and say that there wasn't going to be a need to cut rates straight away because of inflation. Again, all predictable moves in the market. We had the stock market put in new all-time highs. So we had the S&P 500 put in a new all-time high and then immediately sell off. We had the NASDAQ put in a new all-time high, sell off. We had Microsoft, massive all-time high. Meta, new all-time high. And Amazon, massive beat on earnings, but then immediately sell off. So to me, this was a lot of profit taking, a lot of distribution. It wasn't a black swan event. It wasn't anything to do with the nonsense that the news is trying to feed you. It was literally Binance, Bybit, Coinbase trying to flush people out of positions and get rid of some of the leverage in the system. That's what happened, and they're going to spin as many news stories as possible to try and cover that move. For me, the jobs number on Friday actually tells the true story. There is a weakening of the labour market in the US. Rate cuts are going to come quicker than we expected. There's, in my opinion, a pretty good chance that we get a 50 basis point move in September. Right now, the consensus is that we get at least one rate cut in September. I think that might move over the coming weeks. We saw the Fed chair quit. Let me find it. So Fed Governor Adriana Kugler resigned last week. What that means is Trump can now nominate somebody to replace her. He's obviously going to replace her with someone who is going to cut rates or going to vote for cutting rates. At the same time, he has to nominate his successor for Jerome Powell, who's also going to be somebody who is on side with Trump. Those two announcements likely come in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be bullish for markets because they know that they're going to open up the liquidity tap, and they are going to be very bullish for Trump and his team because they're going to work with them to try and achieve what he's trying to achieve. Right now, there's a couple of dissenters at the Fed, but nothing major. If we look on the 3-day time frame as well, we can see that this is potentially valid. So we've got a bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern playing out on Bitcoin right now. Let me cancel that. I think I've got it on another chart. Yeah, so you can see it here. So this is, in my opinion, still valid right now. The neckline has been tested as support. We bounce from here. The target is 150k. But to me, I think the market just needed this kind of cool off period, a bit of a reset on the indicators, and then we can move higher. And if you look at some of the price action since this April the 7th low, we are up still 53%, and we're up over 65% at the top. So a bit of a cool off is expected now and again. Let's have a look at some news stories, then we'll look at the chat, and we will look at some other charts as well. We've got this one. So the reason I highlighted the ISM manufacturing PMI is when PMI is negative, it normally signals a recession. This is going to flip massively positive in the next few months, because the biggest thing for Trump and the biggest thing for the US economy is manufacturing, and they need to build out infrastructure for AI. They need energy, they need power plants, they need power lines, they need battery manufacturing. So this is going to flip positive. When this goes positive and there's rate cuts, that is normally a massive boom signal for markets. So once this flips positive, I think it's going to be really bullish. There's a lot of focus on unemployment right now. Unemployment's going to go skyward in the next 2 or 3 years because of AI. So anyone that's looking at job losses and saying that's bearish for markets, it's bullish for markets. The more companies that replace people with AI means there's going to be more profits for their shareholders, which means their stock price is going to rise. So every time somebody says that unemployment is bearish for stock market, it's complete nonsense. Unemployment is bullish for the stock market because labor is going to be replaced by AI. That's going to mean more profit for everyone that holds that stock. So that's why when Microsoft announced massive job layoffs, their stock price rose, because it means there's more profit. So the ISM manufacturing PMI likely to go much higher very soon. We've got this. So housing affordability, 70% of US households can't afford a $400,000 home. This is the massive thing that Trump's going to try and achieve in the next 12 months, in my opinion. Trump's legacy is going to be about making America affordable for the average American that doesn't have stock market exposure. The only way he can do that is with rates much, much lower. If he gets rates lower, people start selling their houses, people can buy new houses at lower rates. That's going to free up a lot of capital that is stuck in housing. And I think that's what he's going to focus on, and that's why he needs rates down, along with a massive US government debt. So these headlines, while are not great in the short term, it is a bullish signal, because this is going to have to be tackled by politicians. The only way to tackle it is by cutting rates. So a lot more will be made of this, and I think this is why they're going to focus on rate cuts. China banned Bitcoin again for the 4,000th time. Ignore that noise again. These liquidation levels I think are really bullish. So over the weekend we flushed the majority of leverage down to about 110k. So the orange lines are 50x leverage and above, red is 100x leverage, and blue is like 5 to 10x leverage. The reason these are so important is because this is what Binance, Bybit, Coinbase all try to flush. Now, if you look at it, the bullish thing for me is all this liquidity is now sitting above us, and there's not a lot of high leverage below. There's obviously going to be more and more orange lines added as people start to feel confident, they leap back into the market. That's where I think we run the risk of getting a scam wick down into these levels. So let the longs pile in, loads of people go leverage long as they think the market's recovering, and then just dump the price quick with a quick flash crash wick, and then move up. You liquidate the longs and then quickly move to the upside and liquidate the shorts. You look at Solana, huge amount of leverage stuck in that 165 to 175 range. Ethereum, ridiculous amounts of leverage up to about 3,600, and then again in the 3,700 level, and then XRP is all above us. So these types of moves set us up for a massive short squeeze in the coming days, in my opinion. This just shows you the folly of anyone that is still investing in the S&P 500. Yeah, it's great, but what you're doing is basically just getting back the purchasing power of your dollar. So if you invest $100, goes up 10% in the stock market, the value of that $100 is actually depreciated 10% over that time. So yeah, Bitcoin, gold, those are the places to park cash. 125 billion liquidated in just 60 minutes last night as we flashed down below 112k. That is an insane amount of money. That's how exchanges make money, and expect this to continue. So anyone that was frustrated over the last week that we crashed and retraced, get used to it, because it's going to happen again. When we get up to 135k, expect another correction. If we get to 150, expect another one. They're going to keep doing this because it's the only way they make money, and also can keep stockpiling crypto, because these exchanges have to satisfy buy and demand all the time. If you went to an exchange, you went to Binance, tried to buy Bitcoin, and it said sorry, none available, that would be a massive red flag. So the only way to do that is continue to shake people out of position, continue to flush leverage. So this will continue, get used to it. On the daily time frame, let's have a look at Bitcoin. So recovered nicely today. We are up above 114k. I think for me, if we take out this wick low, $114,700, I'd start to feel a bit more confident about the markets. A daily bullish engulfing candle is bullish, but it is a Sunday, it is a weekend. US futures open in a few hours. Until that happens, I wouldn't really feel too wouldn't get complacent. Sunday moves can't always be trusted. Like I said, we might get a flush down. If we close the week here, I think that might be the retracement complete. We might see an overnight flush and then bounce and then have a much nicer week next week. I do expect a green Bitcoin week next week. Let's have a look at some other charts. Ethereum pretty much following in lockstep. You can see this big wick has now been filled by a candle. So interested to see where Ethereum stops out tonight. Weekly close is going to be huge. I think the leverage getting flushed out is massive, but I also think the buying pressure coming in today and maybe into tomorrow when Wall Street reopens could send price much higher. And then XRP absolutely destroyed over the last couple of weeks, 2 weeks, and we are currently down over 20%. Quite a big move after making such a nice new all-time high, but there is a lot of retail FOMO in here, and I think that's probably reflecting on why when it sold off pretty aggressively. Bounced back to these weekly candle highs from February, so yeah, it would be I'd be expecting a recovery this week in XRP, hopefully get back up to this 340 level. Then if we look at total, came back down from this all-time high. Not exactly the most bullish signal for me, breaking all-time high on a back test, but we still do have 3 hours to go. 3 hours 40 minutes. Could we close above here? I mean, if the candle closed above 3.74 trillion, that would be hugely bullish. I don't see it happening. I think it's too much market cap to add, but we will wait and see. Stablecoins continue to put in all-time highs. Another new weekly all-time high for the stablecoin market cap and Tether. So very bullish, and we have the futures market finally closing that CME gap down to 114k. We closed it last week. So that is kind of a quick roundup. Let's have a look in the chat. Let's see who's all in. Let's see what is happening. Vinny is looking forward to a little Sunday night pump to try and ease the tension. Yeah. Kevin, do I think Doge will see 16 cents again? Let me have a look at Dogecoin. So, I mean, it'll definitely hit a gain. I guess what you mean is before it moves higher. We're at 16 cents down here. I'd say it was pretty unlikely. I think the worst of this move, in fact, look at that 3-day candle. That's pretty bullish in my opinion for Dogecoin. I think the worst of the retracement is over. I think if we do go lower, it'll be a quick wick to kind of hunt those late longs. The 200-day moving average is above us. The 3-day 200-day moving average is at 18 cents. So I think that's probably as low as you get on Doge in the next week or so. And then I think we move much higher. Let's see where we are. So yeah, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Yeah, I could cover. Is it Raven or something? Let's see. Raven coin. So yeah, pretty bullish to be fair, because you've got higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So as long as you close tonight above that 0.012 area, then you've put in another higher low. So yeah, pretty bullish. Looks like it's in some kind of channel apart from this deviation as well. So yeah, it looks pretty bullish on the weekly. Yeah, you've got higher low, higher low. Yeah, looks pretty bullish. Usman's asking, are we relying on liquidity from rate cuts? What if rate cuts don't come? Well, one, rate cuts will come because Trump's basically said he needs rate cuts. The US needs rate cuts, and they've already signaled that rate cuts are going to come. There's no reason not to cut rates. So one of the reasons they're not cutting rates right now is because they're worried about inflation, allegedly. So they're basically saying that, let me pull up. So they're saying that Trump's tariffs could lead to massive inflation, and let's see if they blocked this. So they've basically said that they won't cut rates right now because they're worried about inflation. And they're worried about inflation because of tariffs. But while tariffs might lead to price rises for certain goods, tariffs aren't inflationary, because you can choose to buy other products, or you can choose to... A company can choose not to pass on the price hike. So we've already seen it with certain car manufacturers. They've said that they're not going to pass on the price hike to the consumer. On the same time, the US economy is 80% services. It's only 20% products, and not all of those products are imported. So the tariffs might have an inflationary one-time price bump because stuff gets more expensive, but they're not inflationary long-term. So you would only see tariff inflation once. You wouldn't see it month after month after month. So you might get a spike in prices for certain goods or certain products that are imported, or that use certain parts, but it won't be a long-term thing. If you look at Trueflation, which is more accurate because of the way they do their analysis on prices, it's shown 1.6%. If you show inflation and exclude shelter, inflation's only at 1.5%. So the whole rationale between not cutting rates is because of inflation. Inflation isn't showing up. So to me, they're kind of backed into a corner at the moment, and they're going to have to cut rates. At the same time, they have massive debt that they need to cut rates. They cut rates last year when inflation was much higher. They want to make housing more affordable, so they need to cut rates. So it's not a case of if rate cuts don't come, it's when they come and how big they are. But no matter what, we are going into a rate cutting cycle, and it's going to be bullish for markets. But on top of that, it doesn't really matter, because even in the US, their money supply is grown. So their M2 money supply is at a new all-time high. So they're already inflating the currency without cutting rates. So that's bullish. You've got the UK. The UK is going to cut rates again this week probably, which is a massive mistake. But the UK is doing its own thing just now. Yeah, the UK will cut rates this week. Massive mistake, but they'll do it anyway. The US is massively behind the curve. And what will happen is, basically, Jerome Powell got slated so badly for not hiking rates when inflation was running massively out of control that he's now just trying to correct course and go the opposite way. But eventually they're going to cut rates. So, yeah. Niall's saying long-term pension funds are going to rotate into crypto with ETFs. Yeah, I agree. They already are, to be fair. So yeah, I think massive liquidity coming. And then you've got the SLR changes, you've got the Genius Act, you've got all these things that are all... The only reason Trump likes crypto is because he's making crypto benefit the US dollar and the US Treasury market. That's the only reason Trump likes crypto. Because stablecoin holders have to buy US debt. The banks will be able to hold more debt because they'll issue stablecoins. It's all just a big chess game. Let's have a look at some crypto. Get off the macro for a bit. Let's have a look at CRV. Literally moving very nicely over the last few weeks. Up 5% today. Interestingly, so if you've been following these streams, we've had this line marked out for, couldn't even tell you how long. Well, probably since at least, I don't even know, at least March 2024. We've had this level marked out. You can see it's the wick top there. You can see it's quite an important line back in history. Also, it's the target of the breakout of this downtrend going back to July 2022. Interestingly, yesterday we came back and tested it now as support from a previous resistance. So very bullish level to hold. I think we might get a bit of sideways movement here and then a move up. But regardless, this level now acting as support is a massive bullish sign for CRV. So yeah, I think it will go much higher. You opened along at 89 cents. Nice. Yeah, I think if you were trading here, depends how. So everybody trades differently. Long position. So if you entered 89 cents, say, so it depends what your goal is, but you could target the bottom side of the 2022 low, and then you could just put your stop loss, I don't know, maybe down here if you've got that much. I like to let a trade breathe, so I would have quite a wide stop loss, but you could literally set it anywhere, maybe below these wicks, so maybe set it around 80 cents and then just let it go, and then you've got loads of upside. You don't really have to worry about getting stopped out either. But yeah, I think this is a massive hold here. If we hold this as support, as long as you don't close a daily or a 3-day or something below that, then we're fine. LimeWire, somebody was actually talking about buying LimeWire in the chat room earlier today, I think it was. Looks really good. I think LimeWire's got loads of upside. I think we're not going. This is the low. I don't see us breaking below these lows again. I think anything above 6 cents, you're fine. So yeah, quite a nice area to be buying in. I also think right now the crypto market's so undervalued. Certain altcoins, especially anything outside the top kind of 25, probably the top 10 if I'm honest, look massively undervalued. The money is going to flow in, and when it does, it's going to be huge. So yeah, I would, if you want to allocate to the crypto right now, to the crypto markets right now, there's so many bargains. Axie, I think we covered Axie last week. I think, to be fair, it looks pretty cheap right now. Held this level even with a retrace over the last 24 hours. You held this low here, so pretty bullish that you managed to hold that. This would be a spring back test move, but you've came back to it. So yeah, very cheap. Game has not had a sniff recently, so yeah, I think pretty bullish. But every chart pretty much looks the same. Like Arbitrum way down, even Sushi back below the 200-day moving average after this massive move. So people are getting an extra opportunity to buy cheap crypto, which doesn't come around a lot. And there's a lot of fear in the markets, and that normally signals a good buying time as well. Aether, so niche request. I don't even know if it's got a chart we can properly look at. Yeah, I only know it from the Swissborg Alpha that I get rewards from, but yeah, looks. Let's have a look at the weekly. It's basically a bit of a double bottom, but yeah, not too much TA you can do, especially on a new project like this. I think as well, it's a node reward token, I think. So I'm not entirely sure if what buy demand there is. So yeah, a strange one to look at, but I hold some through Swissborg and continue to get my rewards every month. Yeah, I hold some Polkadot. I think Polkadot's one of those ones that keeps surprising to the downside, disappointingly. I think there's a few like that, to be fair. Algorand, VeChain. I've said it numerous occasions. I think their time will come. I think Bitcoin dominance absolute rip last week, but we're back up at the 200-day moving average again. If we get rejected here for a second time, then I think we will drop below 60%. And when we were down at 60%, the twice we've been down here, everybody was feeling great about their portfolio. If you look at 22nd of July, where was Ethereum, we were up here, so up at 3,860. We're now back at 3,488, so $400 short on Ethereum. Total 2 was up at 1.55 trillion. We're now down at 1.38 trillion. So that's the impact of just 2% move in Bitcoin dominance. So what happens when it moves 20% and we're down at 40%? That's what I think people struggle to understand, is that Bitcoin dominance moved 2% and crypto Twitter was calling for all-time highs, CC Pro, everybody was buzzing, every DM was going wild about crypto prices. A 2% move in dominance. What happens when we move 5%, 10%, 20%? The amount of money that's going to rotate into crypto, altcoins in particular, is going to be huge. And I always tie it back to, so we've saw the Mag 7 absolutely smash it over the last few weeks. Apple put in decent earnings. Apple put in really good earnings. Google, amazing earnings. But you're starting to see a lot of profit taking. You know, Meta, all-time high, and then absolute dump. Microsoft, all-time high, absolute dump. Nvidia's still to report earnings. I think it comes this week, end of the month. Tesla, still down. But the Russell 2000 hasn't broke out yet. And it's the small caps. But the Big Beautiful Bill, Genius Act, some of these infrastructure bills that are coming in the States are going to benefit smaller cap stocks. Deregulation, infrastructure, all that's going to benefit small cap stocks. When small caps do well, altcoins do well, and I think we're on the cusp of it. I think August could be that month that starts to shift the direction. The dominance in Mag 7, the dominance in Bitcoin, both fall, and we'll see a broader rally across the markets. And that all comes from liquidity, positivity, bullish sentiment, all that feeds into small caps. We have reached out for a drift update. They've got a partnership with a games company apparently, but I'll have more info for CC Pro members. We'll drop it in the project updates chat in the next couple of days. We're still waiting on the Antara update as well. That'll be on CC Pro. If you're new to the stream and you don't know what CC Pro is, so CC Pro is our private members Discord community. I will drop the link in the chat right now. It's where we share our daily analysis, our buys, our sells. We just posted in the last few days some really cheap coins that we thought were at great buying prices. This is... I don't know why it can't load. But yeah, CC Pro, we have daily members updates. We've got a chat room so you can talk to other crypto investors, which is niche in this space. We've got project updates. We did a buying post a few days ago, and we've got a TA section, trading section, tutorials, everything you need to stay safe, make money, and avoid selling in an absolute panic, which we have seen a lot of over the last few weeks. Do I think VeChain can get to 22 cents? I mean, I think it's possible. I've said this before. I do think the majority of altcoins will go back, if not exceed, all-time highs. I don't really buy this, that these older coins just won't run. If anything, I think this is where the ETF money is going to flow first. So I do think that we will see all-time highs for a lot of coins. I guess for me, would I be waiting for that in certain coins? I don't know. It depends where you've been buying. But yeah, it can certainly do that. That's a 10x from here. 10x is about appropriate, I'd say, to set some goals. So yeah, I could definitely do it, but I'd be trimming profits all the way up, especially if I get north of 8 cents. Take out this high, and then you can just start trimming percentages all the way up. You should make decent money, especially if you've been buying down in the kind of bear market lows, down below a cent, down around a cent. You should have it. Opulus, to be fair, Opulus is looking fine. Had quite a nice rally a few weeks ago, back at the start of July with the rest of the market. Got rejected at the 200-day moving average and has retraced a bit, but it's like everything. Everything's just a liquidity sponge right now, and there's no liquidity. And any liquidity that does come in is being dominated by Bitcoin, Ethereum a little bit, XRP, BNB's taking a lot as well. If we look at Binance Coin, obviously putting that new all-time high before actually the sell-off kind of started. So yeah, we're still in the very early stages of altcoins showing some life. Opulus is a very small market cap coin. It'll be one of the ones that only needs a little bit of liquidity, but it's going to take a little bit of time for the market to work through before that liquidity starts to flow into some of the more risky coins. So yeah, I wouldn't. These altcoins is just a wait and see type time right now. Usman, Sushi, I think I covered it earlier. Back below the 200-day moving average, but 3-day chart looks pretty bullish. Retraced exactly back to these resistance levels. So I think Sushi will move, take out these wicks in the coming weeks, and then we'll be off to the races up towards kind of the 150 level. I think right now across the market, the biggest thing we are seeing is just frustration rather than anything else. People have been holding altcoins for like 3-4 years now. People expected this cycle kind of to be done by now. And obviously it's a more elongated cycle. We saw Bitcoin absolute like run away, largely driven by institutional adoption, ETFs, but all that stuff's coming for the wider crypto market. We've got ETFs coming very soon. We've got futures trading. I think Solana and XRP are showing some real strength in the CME futures market. Massive regulation changes coming, and then the macro world is shifting at the same time. So it's kind of like what I spoke about earlier with ISM manufacturing in the traditional world. Pro-regulation towards infrastructure and new investment in the US economy combined with lower rates is a massive boom. It's the same in the crypto market. Pro-crypto regulation, pro-crypto SEC, new governing rules. At the same time, liquidity rules are changing, and we've got rate cuts on the horizon. That just is a recipe for a huge move higher. Shiv, so it depends what you're trying to sell. You can sell through OTC desks, but it has to be pretty big size, and it's only certain coins. So say you held, I don't know, 300k of Bitcoin, you could go to an OTC desk and they would agree a price with you, and you would send them the Bitcoin, they'd send you cash. Depending on where you are, they could actually send that money to a bank account rather than crypto. So that, yeah, you can sell on OTC desks, but that's big size. You can sell on dexes. So I don't know if your question relates to you don't want centralized exchanges reporting on your transactions. So you can sell on decentralized exchanges like Radium, Uniswap. You can swap in wallets like Phantom and MetaMask as well. But you just need to be aware of slippage on those. XRP showing some real strength, up above 291, trying to crack 292 as we get closer to the weekly close, up over 5% today. Nice move on XRP. Solana looking pretty strong as well. Held this blue line. I think for me, maybe this is just pure bullishness, but I think this shakeout was almost like it was at a crucial time. I think it's happened exactly as the market shifted to start pricing in rate cuts. The whole tariff nonsense back in April was just a huge shakeout, and look at the recovery. I think we could see a similar thing in the coming weeks. We could look back on this weekend or last week and just be like, pure manipulated move, and we're sitting way higher, 130k, 135k. So yeah, I would just use this time to just chill out, stay away from the markets. It's what I said at the start. If you look at the weekly chart of Bitcoin in particular, it's just up to the right. It's pretty chill. If you're looking at the hourly chart, it is stress. It is up, it's down, it's sideways. I think at certain times you just need to chill out, set reminders, tune into people like us who try and give our honest opinion. And yeah, just chill out a little bit. Borg, so Borg kind of sold off with the market. I don't know where it's sitting right now, 24 cents, so it's recovered pretty well. It's still up from that June low. We're up 52% since the June low, so quite a nice move. Stayed above the 200-day moving average. Yeah, Borg looks pretty good, to be fair. Well, one thing that's pretty interesting, if you look at, so that June 22 low, so if you look at Solana, for example, we are still up 28%. If you look at XRP, we are up 53%. Ethereum, we are up 65%. So we're up pretty significantly since the June lows. If you look at the, let's look at Apple. So the June low, Apple's only up 3%. Amazon is up 3%. Google will be up a bit more, 16%. So pretty decent performance for Google. Microsoft and Meta, pretty decent. But you have to think, if you're a traditional investor, eventually you're going to get bored of 2, 3, 4%, and you're going to start looking for that risk. And now it's regulated and you can actually move into that space. At some point, Wall Street and their clients are going to demand exposure to crypto. And I think that will be a massive win for the crypto space. At gold, try to break back into this ascending triangle. It might actually be more of a range, to be fair, if we do chop around here. This is expected to go higher. I think $4,000 for gold is coming sooner than MD thinks, because the money printing is about to go berserk over the next 6 months. The 10-year yield is what Trump needs lower. I still believe that he's going to do something funky with US bonds to attract buyers. Stablecoins, SLR, all that stuff is great, but if he could do a US government bond backed by Bitcoin or gold, that would be very attractive to all investors. I think there would be unbelievable demand for it, and I think the yield would drop to about 1%. X21 Records thinks there's going to be a double bottom. Yeah, to be fair, crypto does love a double bottom, but in the past it does anyway. I think I've showed this before. Yeah, you have the double bottom in here, kind of double bottom here with the double wicks. But more recently, you've actually saw, especially since the ETFs have got approved, you normally see quite violent recoveries. Now, I put that down to the huge buy-in, because one of the reasons why exchanges like to flush the price is in order to fill up their OTC desks to then sell that Bitcoin to institutional players. So it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow, for example, we get a notification that some institution, Michael Saylor, somebody like that's bought a lot of Bitcoin. We saw that last week, I think he said he was going to spend 4.5 billion on Bitcoin, and then the price crashes literally a couple of days later. So yeah, that's why we're seeing such violent recoveries. So normally I would agree, and normally we do get double bottoms, and we might on the shorter time frames. You could say we possibly already got it, but even this here, this price action, these small candles like that tells me there's a big player buying Bitcoin. It's called TWAP. That's how they buy big amounts of Bitcoin when OTC desks run low. So OTC desk probably fulfilled an order down here and then couldn't fulfill the whole thing, so they've had to buy, and that's what causes price like that, in my opinion. Based on that price action, that's what's happened. Best way to minimize capital gains tax: leave the UK, go to Dubai. Will you be exiting all your crypto to buy back lower in the bear market, or are you planning on keeping some on cold storage? Nah, anything other than Bitcoin, I will be trying to sell. So what I mean by that is, when we've spoke about this, and we've spoke about it with CC Pro members a lot, but when we sell percentages. So typically you're left with a bag of something. I think I'll be selling everything, to be honest, as much as possible. As soon as I hit price targets, I'm getting out of the crypto market. I think Bitcoin does 60-70% pullback in a bear market. I think we go crazy low, way lower than MD expects, because I think it'll be a Bitcoin treasury company that blows up. So yeah, I'll be selling everything, be selling as much as possible to get out, and then I'll just chill and then start dollar cost averaging back in the bear market. Probably try and accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible in that bear market, because I think the next bear market will get rid of a lot of altcoins, and I think Bitcoin's kind of what you want long term anyway. So yeah, I'll be selling as much as possible. XRP, I'll be selling everything. Ethereum, yeah, I would sell 99.9% of it. I think if you're looking for a hedge against inflation, I would look at Swissborg and the golden thematic, because I've showed this a few times. I actually love this graphic. So Bitcoin between November 2021 and I can't remember the time, but basically gold doesn't have these massive moves. So the golden thematic balances Bitcoin and gold. So if you had sold your Bitcoin at the top and bought gold, it would have pretty much traded flat throughout the bear market instead of this massive drawdown. Pretty sure I'll need to get the graphic from CC Pro and share it again, because it was actually a member hadn't done that. So let's see where we are. Yeah, so November 2021, gold was $1,800 by kind of the bottom of the bear market. Gold was pretty much $1,800. So it stayed flat the entire time, while Bitcoin was down, what, 75%, 60%, something like that. So yeah. What options are there then to explore profit taking? We took the risk, it should be our rewards. Yeah, that's why me, Dick and Donald have set up in Dubai. In the next 5 years, tax is only going to go one way in the UK. It's not going to come down. Growth's slow, inflation's rising, and they're cutting rates. So the UK basically has stagflation, and they're trying to cut rates to improve the situation. We lost over 9,000 millionaires for the UK last year. They're forecast to lose 10,000 this year. The top 1% in the UK pay 30% of the taxes in the UK. You keep losing those wealthy people, taxes are only going to go one way. Capital gains tax, inheritance tax, income tax, VAT, all these taxes are only going to go up. Council tax, much higher, with a poorer service. I could go on all night about the issues with tax in the UK. So, yeah, you're going to have to pay it, and they're going to get smart. Like, I don't care what anyone says. HMRC might be the dumbest organisation in the world. They might be incompetent. They might have old-fashioned systems. When there's millions of dollars worth of crypto profits on the line, they'll get smart. They'll hire people. AI will do a lot of the work these days as well. Not to mention that all the exchanges are terrified of getting banned from jurisdictions, so they will hand over the information. So if you try and dodge it, you'll end up getting penalised. So I would pay your tax first and foremost, and if you want to be efficient, look into setting up somewhere else. CC Pro members have a section dedicated to setting up in Dubai. Deck's done a video on it. I've spoke about it a lot. Super simple. We can help you. Just get in touch with us and we will sort you out. Well, I mean, I'm not a tax advisor. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. All I can say is that there are ways to be efficient, shall we say, with your crypto profits. Because right now you can buy property in Dubai using crypto. So you don't technically have to realise the profit into any traditional bank. Yeah, there's loads of ways around things. Weekly candle closes are going to be super important for a number of cryptos. XRP is looking amazing. Up 20 cents, so up 6.5% from the low. 292. If it could close the weekly above 294, these candle highs, that would be pretty bullish. The monthly for Ethereum, XRP all looked really bullish as well. So these short-term pullbacks don't last long in a bull run. These are dip buying opportunities. I've said it for months. Big players just want to scoop up cheap crypto, and there's a lack of it about, and that's why price will immediately recover. So yeah, exciting week, exciting few hours left of this week. Candle closes coming up. Let's see where we finish out. We will have all the market analysis in CC Pro tomorrow morning for all our members. And alpha members, if you're in CC Pro, you know what an alpha member is. That's just our kind of more exclusive high net worth individual cohort of members. We have an alpha live stream tomorrow night, so we will recap all the candle closes and set us up for a massive week. Interested to see what Trump does with the Fed. He needs to nominate somebody. The Fed chair that quits as of the 8th, so he's got 5 days to find a replacement. That'll be somebody very pro-Trump, very pro-interest rate cuts. And yeah, massive week. Let's see how the market recovers. We will have more updates, and we'll be back later this week with more live streams. Thanks very much for tuning in. Make sure to like the stream. If you're not in CC Pro, the link is in the description, and I will see you all very soon.